Anna Kepner. Anna Kepner. So I'm going to give you a brief sort of background of who Anna Kepner is and what happened to her. Let me just put down some windows. So this girl, young girl, attractive girl, typical teenage girl, often making Instagram videos, selfies, etc. A girl with massive potential in front of her, like everybody of her age. 17 years old, she had plans to join the military. She wanted to be a K9 officer. Everyone described her as a lovely girl. Blah, de, blah, de, blah. They always are lovely, aren't they? Such a loss to the world. It's ironic, isn't it? Because the victims are a big loss, not only to their families, of course, but to all of us, to the world in general. Quite often victims, they're like the people we need in the world, the good people. It's the good people that become victims because predators, they pick on good people, don't they, I think? If somebody's like maybe, I don't know, they pick on people who they know they can pick on. So they could be vulnerable because of their age, like Preston, because he was just a baby, or Nancy Guthrie because she was elderly, or Anna. Anna's a young girl, a young attractive girl. So I think there's a real strong sex motive in this murder. So Anna went on a cruise from Orlando in Florida, a Disney cruise. I think it's the Carnival, the cruise ship was called, with her blended family. So she's on this cruise. This is what always amazes me. She's on a cruise. There's 9 of them. And this girl was still not safe. On a massive cruise ship, thousands of people, and 9 members of her family. And she still wasn't safe. She still got murdered. Unbelievable. Where are you safe? Anyway, so it was her dad, her biological dad, his new wife, Shauna, I think her name is. Then there was her stepbrother, Timothy Hudson, her other brother, who I think is biological brother. So how many is that? Then the grandma and granddad were on this cruise. And then I think there were other children on there that it's not really been clarified, or I don't know exactly. So anyway, there was 9 of them. And Anna and her 2 brothers, her stepbrother, Timothy, and her brother were sharing a stateroom together. Now, there's so much discrepancy about Anna's relationship with her stepbrother, Timothy Hudson. Let's put a picture up of him. I want to show you the difference in size between, because he's quite a weedy guy, I would say. He doesn't look like a strong guy. But when you look at him next to Anna, see how tiny she is? See how tiny Anna Kepner is? So he might not be a great big strong guy, might be a bit of a skinny guy, and that a lot of people say that, oh, he couldn't possibly have done it because he's not strong enough. Look at the difference in size. Poor Anna. Anyway, there's some discrepancy about how well they got on or didn't get on. The stepmother says, his biological mother says, oh yeah, they got on really well. Him, her, and the other brother, they were like the 3 amigos, she described them. And that's why she felt comfortable, them all sharing a stateroom on the cruise ship. In fact, she said that Anna was offered the opportunity to stay with her grandparents instead, and she wanted to stay with the 2 boys. Now, that's quite likely because Anna probably wanted freedom. She's a young girl, teenage girl. We already know that, in fact, on that trip, she had a liaison with another person similar age to her, another young lad. She had sex with somebody else. And why not? You know, she's a young girl that, you know, if you think you're going to stop teenagers from having sex, it's never going to happen unless you go back in time and pluck out the chastity belts again and put them on them. Even then, I think they'd find a way around it these days. You know, you just teenagers like to have sex. All their hormones go mental. You know, so she did have sex with another boy on the cruise ship. My personal opinion is that is what drove Timothy Hudson into a jealous rage. I bet he found out that she'd been with somebody, and it said that he had an obsession with Anna. Again, it's, you know, we have to wait till the trial to find out all the proper details. An ex-boyfriend of Anna's said, you know, he was on FaceTime one day with Anna, and this Timothy Hudson jumped on top of her, and, you know, practically an assault, really, while he was, you know, that he was obsessed with her in an sex way. So it just makes you wonder, is that what happened? Did he find out that Anna on this cruise ship had met a young lad, had sex, and, you know, did he fly into a jealous rage? I think it's quite possible, isn't it? So anyway, what apparently happened, or this is what allegedly happened, they've got CCTV of the comings and goings from the room. You know, Timothy Hudson went in there, then Anna went back to the room, and then the other brother tried to get into the room and wasn't allowed in. Timothy Hudson made him wait 5-10 minutes before he let him in. And then the other brother went in the room, not knowing that Anna, by then, she was dead and she'd been stuffed under the bed, covered over with life jackets. Then Timothy Hudson, off he went to dispose of Anna's phone. He was in and out of the hotel room after that, apparently. This is what's alleged. Yeah, that's what the prosecution alleges. But there's been absolute outcry because this boy, I think he's 16, it's been a bit of a mess because he's a minor. Also, because of where the crime took place in international waters, the FBI are dealing with it. So the FBI don't have juvenile detention centres. So when Timothy appeared in court not long ago, the judge said he had to look into where he could be held. So all this time since this happened, this guy, this young lad, he's been free. He's been staying with a relative, an uncle. There are children in the house. Oh my God, who would have him? You wouldn't have him in your house, would you? Not even whether you had children or not, but after what he's allegedly done. I think the FBI have just arrested him just fun of it. Anyway, he's going to be tried as an adult. And the good news is he has finally been put in prison. So all this time since this happened, which I think was last August sometime, so, you know, not far off a year now when it happened, this guy has been walking free through the neighbourhood. I mean, he's had an ankle monitor on, I believe. But yeah, he's just been going through his life. Anyway, so what they're saying is that he was assessed, you know, mentally, if you like, and he's showing absolutely no remorse. And it's thought that it's clear that he would do exactly the same thing again. He's got something wrong with him, clearly. So he's supposed to have murdered Anna with a chokehold. He also RAPED'd her. And I read on one, you know, video that I was watching about this, that he chokeholded her. The chokehold was so strong that her eardrums burst. I don't know how that would happen. Maybe that's not true. I don't know, but paints a horrible picture, doesn't it? He certainly RAPED'd her. So, sex, assault, murder, and poor Anna extinguished, totally extinguished. Her life, the promise, you know, a life that had a lot in front of it, and all the, you know, wanted to join the military, wanted to be a K9 officer. You know, she had plans, she had hopes, she had dreams, and they've all gone because of that twonk. So let me just have a look at this article, and then I can read out for you what actually has happened. There's a lot of evil in the world, isn't it? We have to remember that there is more good than evil, but sometimes it is hard to remember, isn't it? Sometimes you just get sort of submerged in these horrible things that people can do to each other. And, you know, they were close. Well, they were a blended family. So, you know, this cruise, I think, was part of the effort to bring the family together, you know, to all live happily ever after. Didn't work out, did it? Just didn't work out, sadly. And Anna's the one who's paid the price for it. Anna's the one who's paid the price. Okay, let's have a look. So, new evidence in cruise ship murder. Let's try and watch the video.
Today, the Florida teenager charged with sexually assaulting and killing his 18-year-old stepsister on a Carnival cruise appearing in court.
Timothy, do you have anything you want to say?
A federal judge ruling Timothy Hudson, now 16 years old, can remain with family ahead of his trial for the murder of Anna Kepner. It comes as we get a more detailed picture of what prosecutors.
So here's the family all, you know, that's the family all on there. So we're not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of them all together. Why was Anna not safe? Her parents, her grandparents. And here's this twonk here at the back. Why was he not safe? Why was she not safe against this boy? That's the other brother there. He's the one who didn't know, but he slept in the same room. Awful. You know, it really is awful. What family would give him somewhere to stay when they had children in the house as well?
Looking left and right down the hallway.
So I'm going to replay that a little bit. Hi, Jacqueline. Go back to there, I think.
With family ahead of his trial for the murder of Anna Kepner. It comes as we get a more detailed picture of what prosecutors say happened that night on the cruise last November. Anna and her stepbrother were both in their stateroom starting around 7:40 p.m., according to newly unsealed documents. Prosecutors say CCTV shows Timothy leaving at 10 p.m., looking left and right down the hallway, appearing to check if there was anyone in the hallway. The video then allegedly shows a third sibling trying to get back into the room they shared after midnight, but Timothy makes him wait before allowing him in. Prosecutors adding Anna's body was found the next day. It appeared that someone had tried to hide her again by partially putting her underneath the bed. I sat down with Anna's grandparents shortly after her death, who told me she was close with her stepbrother.
He was a good student.
Yeah, this is the weirdest video that I've ever seen. So this woman is Anna's grandmother, biological grandmother. They've got similar eyes, actually. And she was defending him. Honest to God, I just feel with this whole case, Anna, who cared about Anna enough to protect her? You know, they seem like they were all trying to say, oh, poor Timothy would never have done this. His defense is he can't remember anything. That's what he's saying at the moment. He doesn't remember anything that happened that night. That's convenient, isn't it? I personally think he would, if the coast would have been clear, he would have tried to get Anna out the room and push her over the side. I think that's what he was planning on doing. He obviously lost his head because, you know, there's no really, you know, if you planned it, you wouldn't do it on a cruise ship probably, because where are you going to put the body? But I wonder if that's what he was thinking. He's just going to push her over the side. Anyway, so this woman, very strange interview this. You know, this is her biological granddaughter, and she's more defending him.
Played soccer.
He played soccer. Very quiet young man. He had demons.
Yeah, no shit, Shirley.
I think in his past, and he was trying to deal with those.
Timothy Hudson has pleaded not guilty. Tonight, Anna's dad tells ABC News, I want him in custody. I want him to be held accountable. And
yeah, so the dad came out and said he wanted him to be.
Anna Kepner's father speaking out.
These lovely pictures of Anna. Sorry, I do like looking at the pictures of her. She's a very beautiful girl, and you know, once she was going to be an even more beautiful woman. You could see that.
Authorities believe his 18-year-old daughter was murdered by her 16-year-old
Anyway,
stepbrother.
So the thing is, let me just, I want to get to the article about him being arrested. How do I get back to the article? So the news is, the update is, he has finally been taken into custody. Finally, he had his pre-trial release revoked, and he was ordered into custody until the murder trial because of his level of. So he's like a fledgling serial killer, isn't he? Let me share this article. I think, no doubt, if he would have by some miracle, got away with this, he would definitely, you know, have done it to other women, probably. I mean, this is like something that we've been talking about with John Judge. We're going to talk about again in a minute with Preston Davey and his mum's history. Age. Is there any redemption for them? You know, as I say, we look at John George now. He got involved in bad things when he was young, and he ended up going to a detention centre. But they weren't like, you know, like the killers of Jamie Bolton that they know of. He has been back in and out of prison ever since. The other one, we don't know. Maybe he is leading a nice, law-abiding, quiet life somewhere. But can somebody who does these very heinous crimes, can they change? You know, teenagers do. They take drugs, they lie, things that they do. But to do these, you know, this is a big thing. Most teenagers don't do these kind of things, even if they are on drugs. So does it show a deeper level of psychopathy when teenagers, and debate, isn't it? You know, how much should we forgive teenagers for crimes that they commit when they're young? And you know, what crimes should not be forgiven, no matter how young someone is? Let me just move my picture away. Hang on. Oh, there you go. Difficult. So yeah, Timothy Hudson, 16, has been surrendered to US Marshals on June the 15th after Judge Edwin Torres revoked his pre-trial release because he is now being tried as an adult on charges of murder and aggravated sex abuse in the death of his stepsister Anna Kepner. Unconvincing, and he adds that it suggests a level of psychopathy and a lack of remorse that by itself raises a serious concern that he could snap at any time. He's been walking free for ages. Yeah, he could have killed somebody during that time. Good God. So yeah, this was back in November. It was November 2025. So since then, despite the fact he's 8 months, imagine if you lived near him, you know, near this man or this boy, where he was staying, and you knew what he'd done, and he's walking free, and you've got young girls in your family. My God, that just seems so irresponsible to me. Hey, Sean. Oh, you supplied the CCTV for Carnival Cruises. Yeah, well, this is America, of course. So, there's loads of him going back to the room, then Anna going back to the room and never coming back out of it again. Then the brother going to the room and not being allowed in. Then finally being allowed in, and then him coming out of the Vanna's phone. It's all on CCTV. So, he's not going to get away with it. I know, we keep coming up against this. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. But sometimes the evidence is so overwhelming. You know that he's guilty, that he's done something. Because, so apparently he surrendered to US Marshals on that's to be Torres, who ordered him to turn himself in a week after prosecutors moved to revoke his pre-trial release. So yeah, the prosecution and Anna's family have been trying to get him put into prison, whereas the defense are trying to argue. So Judge Torres thinks that Hudson presents a danger to both himself and others. He had been released into the custody of a family member. Oh my God, I couldn't have him in my house. I'm sorry, I couldn't. Not after, he hasn't, as I say, he's not just a shoplifter. He's not been writing forged checks or credit card fraud. It's RAP murder. You couldn't have him in your house. Or I couldn't. Anyway, just being honest. So originally he was charged as a minor, but personally I think cruises is very dangerous. I've heard of loads of mysteries on cruises. So apparently the US Attorney's Office had argued he should be kept in custody when he was first charged in February, but he failed to meet the burden of proof required by the juvenile exercises. Rehabilitation. You can't, listen, some people cannot be rehabilitated, I'm sorry. You can be rehabilitated if you've been a drug addict or you've, shoplifted or done. Yes, I believe in rehabilitation, but not for murder. And RAPE, I don't think it can be rehabilitated. I just don't think you can. Just the way it is. You know, you've got to be a special sort of person to do. So the federal statute emphasises rehabilitation over punishment for juveniles, and as such strongly discourages pretrial detention for minors or conditioning their release on the posting of. So the good news is he is in prison now. So Hudson's own mother has made it clear she believes her son should be in custody, releasing a statement with Anna's father following his first court appearance in February, which read in part, "At this time, it is deeply painful and distressing son is able to walk freely, and this adds to our grief and outrage." Now, of course, they're not exactly whiter themselves, are they? There's been a lot of talk about what supervision were these people given. You know, why were they not given any supervision? Were they not? Oh, hang on. Am I back? I went off then, I think. Oh, I'm back. Am I back in the room? I think I'm back in the room. Yeah, there's been a lot of criticism of the parents, of course, for not supervising properly, because, of course, they had two other younger children there with them. And, of course, Anna's father, you know, he's supposed to have a penchant for young girls as well. You know, he married his babysitter, married the babysitter, I should say. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that now, but so the statement made said it is devastating to know that while we live every day with the loss of our child, the individual responsible, so they're disowning him really. But as I say, there's been a lot of criticism of them for not monitoring the behaviour on the cruise ship enough, because they were minors. And of course, Anna went off and had a relationship with another young boy, or had an encounter, if you like. Who was monitoring these young people on this cruise? That's the criticism that Anna's dad and stepmom are getting. And well, I'll leave you to make your mind up about that. But the good news is, and it is good news, I think, for the world, really, or certainly for everyone who lives around the area where he was living. You know, this boy was walking free. I just want to put this picture up again because I do think it's important to see, look, he might look weedy when you see him on his own, but look at him next to Anna. The difference in size. Because I think when you see a picture of him on his own, and I've actually seen comments people have made, oh, he doesn't look like he could put someone in an arm lock and murder them. He's only sort of skinny and weedy, but he's still massive compared to Anna. She was tiny, barely 5 foot, I think. God. See, these are the dangers of blended families. You know, blended families can be great. You can end up with a sibling that maybe you didn't have a sibling, and it's great, and you can build a good relationship with your blended sibling. But, you know, it has to be monitored because it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes there's jealousy, you know, all sorts of things. I've done many a case where somebody has been killed by a half sibling or a step sibling. Becky Watts in the UK, her stepbrother Nathan murdered her, didn't he? And dismembered her, and probably RAPE'd her, but of course that couldn't be established. You know, just because you want a blended family to work doesn't mean necessarily that it will. So you have to monitor it. You can't just think, oh, just leave them all to it. You know, so yeah, he's very tall. He's very tall, so I'm sorry, I admit you can't hear it, but it will be breaking up a little. It did break up for a while, but hopefully it's back okay now. Not much I can do with it, I'm afraid. It's my computer. So that was the update I wanted to give you. So he is in custody. Thank God. At last, he's in custody. And I'll keep an eye on this case. I suppose that'll be it now until the trial, really, or maybe discovery and things like that that happen. Yeah. Yeah, it did go for a brief thing where it was breaking up, but I think it's okay now. It's just not anything. I try and keep an eye on it. I've got my phone in front of me so I can see if it freezes or whatever. So that's Anna. That's Anna. That's the update on poor Anna. As I say, a loss to the world. You know, bright future in front of her. She was going to be a positive contribution to society. And yeah, when these people die, taken from this world, it's a loss to all of us. Just to the world as a whole, as well as the family. Obviously, the family is the most important thing. But after that, the friends. You know, then there's the sort of trauma of the people who found her. There'll be the trauma coming up of the jurors in the trial and the judge who have to listen to what this boy did to her. You know, there's so many ripples. You know, when somebody does such a terrible thing as this, or any of the crimes that we look at, the ripples go out, don't they? It affects everybody. That's why it how can I put it? It does affect us. You don't have to know a person to be affected by what happened to them and to care about justice for them. You know, I'm constantly, because of doing True Crime Channel, I'm constantly, you know, questioning myself, well, why am I doing this? Why sometimes I get so down with it, your soul hurts. But then I know why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because why should these twonks not get talked about? We can't just forget that these things ever